Howdy, friend. Spitz here, and this is Feed Bandit, the Texas First Outdoors podcast. If you have ever rolled down your truck windows as you cross the big bridge onto a barrier island, smelled that thick, salty air coming off the Gulf of Mexico, and listened to the constant crashing music of the surf against the sand, you know that the Texas coast has a way of washing away all the busy noise of the modern world. There is an absolute sense of freedom that comes over a man when he stands on the edge of the sand, looking out at an ocean that stretches all the way to the horizon. But if you want to experience the true, untamed soul of our upper coast, a place where you can walk pristine sandy beaches in the morning and paddle through quiet, hidden saltwater bayous in the afternoon, you need to drive down the highway to a spectacular barrier sanctuary. I am talking about Galveston Island State Park, spanning over 2,000 acres across the width of the island. This park is a beautifully unique treasure in our state park system. It is a place where the wild, rolling waves of the Gulf Beach are separated from the calm, rich grass flats of West Bay by nothing but a narrow spine of natural sand dunes and coastal prairies today. Today, we are going to dive deep into the world of Galveston Island State Park. We will talk about its history as a rugged frontier island, how the land has been rebuilt to handle the massive power of Gulf hurricanes, and the exact technical tips, fishing strategies, and paddling choices you need to explore this beautiful saltwater playground safely and successfully. So, pull up a chair. We have a lot of saltwater to cover. To truly understand and appreciate Galveston Island State Park, you have to look at how a barrier island naturally works to protect our great state. These long, narrow strips of sand are the front line of defense for the Texas mainland against the heavy storms and rolling waves of the Gulf of Mexico. The park itself was opened back in the 1970s, but the history of this dirt goes back hundreds of years, to the days when the Karankawa people used the rich bayous to hunt for fish and oysters, and when legendary pirates like Jean Lafitte sailed these exact waters to hide their treasures. For decades, the park was a favorite destination for millions of campers, but in 2008, a massive storm named Hurricane Ike swept over the island with ultimate fury, completely destroying the beachside facilities and shifting the sand dunes for miles. But Texans do not just give up when the wind blows. Over years of hard work and dedicated planning, our state completely rebuilt the park, creating a state-of-the-art, storm-resilient coastal sanctuary that was fully reopened to the public with brand-new campsites, modern dune walkovers, and protected habitat lanes. The park is split into two completely different worlds by the main coastal highway. On the beach side, you have miles of open sand, rolling surf, and beautiful dunes that act like a giant shield. On the bay side, the landscape changes completely into a quiet maze of brackish bayous, saltwater marshes, and shallow lagoons that serve as a vital nursery for millions of young crabs, shrimp, and native fish. It is a spectacular, diverse ecosystem that shows us how resilient the Texas coast truly is when it is managed with honor and care. Let's look at the technical tips, woodcraft strategies, and outdoor choices required to plan a successful trip to this coastal barrier park. My first big tip for you is to master the unique fishing patterns of the bayside marsh management lanes. The shallow ponds, canals, and grass flats on the west bay side of the park are an absolute paradise for saltwater outdoorsmen, especially if you are targeting the big three coastal favorites: redfish, speckled trout, and southern flounder. During the late summer and early autumn months, the flounder begin their massive annual migration out of the shallow bays toward the deep waters of the Gulf to spawn. This is known as the Great Flounder Run. Position yourself along the edges of the narrow marsh guts and tidal cuts where the water drains out of the park ponds into the main bay on a falling tide. Cast a lightweight jig head tipped with a live finger mullet or a white, soft plastic curly tail grub straight into the current and drag it slowly along the muddy bottom. Flounder are ultimate ambush predators that lay completely flat in the mud waiting for food to float past. So move your bait with patience and be ready for a soft, heavy thump on your line. My second tip is to take full advantage of the park's dedicated paddling trails to explore the hidden bayous safely. The park features 3 official kayak trails that wrap through the salt marshes, protected from the heavy waves of the open bay. Before you launch your kayak or canoe, always study the local wind and tide charts with ultimate discipline. A strong 20-mile-per-hour north wind can blow all the water right out of the shallow marsh channels, leaving your boat stranded in the sticky black mud, while a heavy incoming tide can make paddling against the current an exhausting battle. Always plan your route so that you are paddling with the wind and current whenever possible, and stay inside the markers to avoid getting lost in the maze of tall cordgrass. My third tip is to practice ultimate protection and secure attachment for your gear on the beach side of the park. The coastal environment is incredibly harsh on modern outdoor equipment. The salt spray, fine sand, and constant wind can ruin a high-dollar reel, a camera, or a camping stove in a matter of hours if you aren't paying attention. Every single time you finish a day of fishing or paddling in the salt water, wash down your rods, reels, and kayak paddles with fresh, clean water at the park's rinse stations to prevent the salt from corroding the metal parts. Pack your dry clothes, electronics, and food inside secure, airtight plastic storage bins or heavy-duty rubber dry bags to keep the powdery sand from blowing inside your gear. My fourth tip is to respect and protect the natural sand dunes that line the beachfront. The dunes are not just pretty piles of sand. They are held together by the deep roots of native plants like sea oats and railroad vine, and they serve as the absolute baseline barrier that keeps the ocean from washing away the highway and the coastal prairies behind them. Never walk, climb, or let your kids slide down the sand dunes, as destroying those fragile plants can cause the entire dune to erode and wash away during the next heavy high tide. Always use the elevated wooden boardwalks and designated dune walkovers provided by the park to cross safely from your campsite down to the breaking waves of the beach. Enjoying a trip to Galveston Island State Park is a premier Texas tradition because it reminds us of the delicate, beautiful balance between our busy modern communities and the wild, untamed forces of the natural world. It is a place where a family can pull up their trailer, pitch a canvas tent, and live for a few days by the simple rhythm of the sun, the wind, and the moving tides of the Great Gulf. Preserving the tradition means understanding that we are temporary guests on this shifting strip of sand, and holding ourselves to the highest possible standard of outdoor conservation and neighborly respect. We follow the park rules strictly, pack out every single piece of our plastic trash and empty aluminum cans, and treat the migratory shorebirds and marine life with true dignity and honor. Protecting the legacy means passing down these essential saltwater angling, paddling, and coastal safety skills to our children, showing them that being a true Texian means taking responsibility for the protection of our beautiful coastlines so they stay wild and free for centuries to come. When you sit by your campfire on a cool coastal evening, listening to the dark waves crash against the beach while the salt wind whistles through the tent lines under a blanket of bright coastal stars, you realize how blessed we are to have these protected public spaces, watch the tides, and honor the grand barrier islands of our home state. So what do you think of that? Are we right on target, or did we totally miss the boat on that one? Email us at howdy@feedbandit.com and let us know either way. And don't forget to check us out at feedbandit.com and grab some gear to show off your Texas First Outdoors pride. Preserve the tradition, protect the legacy, and remember, always support your local feed store. If you're there for them, they'll be there for you when you need them the most out in the field. Stand tall, fellow Texian. We'll talk soon.